Let me talk to you. We are back once again. It's a new movie review going on for today for the Fish Flicks channel. And this time around today, we're going to be talking about John Wick Chapter 4. Now, this is the fourth chapter out of the John Wick franchise. And what is this movie about? Well, it's pretty simple. John Wick has a price on his head that is ever increasing by the day. The legendary hitman John Wick takes his fight against the high table global as he seeks out the most powerful players in the criminal underworld from New York to Paris to Japan to Berlin, all for the price of freedom. And with this movie, man, this was a pretty big movie all around when it comes to just the runtime, the action, all throughout. And I love these John Wick movies. I really did, because the first John Wick movie came literally out of nowhere. This is a legit story. I remember my uncle Marcus. I was on his Voodoo account, and he owned the movie John Wick, and I saw Keanu Reeves was the lead, and I just randomly clicked on. I'm like, let's see what this is about. And oh my God, I was just wowed by just how fun and great that movie is. Just a simple little revenge tale that gets you connected to the characters and the dog. And when you say that you have a guy killing multiple people over a dog, it may sound silly at first. Once you write these characters, invest us into these characters in a way and use other items or objects or animals like a dog to connect us with these characters, it all works at the end of the day. And that's what's happening. And we saw it with John Wick 2, John Wick 3. This John Wick 4 takes place 6 months after the events of John Wick 3. And this is a very massive film, as this movie clocks in at about 2 hours and 45 minutes plus. And I was a little skeptical just on that runtime a little bit, because, all the other ones were much shorter, barely pushing 2 hours, I want to say, the previous John Wick movies. And so once you're having something like this one, you're going like, is it a little bit too much? Are they trying to do too much? Is it going to be exhausting, tiresome? Is this even going to work? And simply put, to tell you folks, it 100% works. This movie needs to be this length of runtime. And I don't believe in the whole, movies need to be shorter, movies need to be longer, yada, yada, yada. A movie is going to be as long as it needs to be. If you can tell the story that needs to be told in just 90 minutes, then it needs to be 90 minutes. If you need a longer story that needs to push upwards of 2.5 to 3 hours, like say in Avengers Endgame need to be 3 hours, then the movie warrants itself a 3-hour runtime. So I don't believe in movies needing to be either shorter or longer just for the hell of it. This movie perfectly uses its runtime to the best of its ability, because this movie was 100% a blast. I loved watching this movie from start to finish in the theater. Everything about this movie is bigger. The runtime's bigger. The action set pieces are bigger. They are unique. We're introduced to a lot more characters. The kill count in this movie is insane. You would try to count how many people John Wick would kill in this movie, but after 5 minutes, you're like, oh, okay, no, there's no way I can keep up and count how many people this man is taking out in this movie. And everybody brought their A game to this movie, 100%. We got the last John Wick movie in 2019, so it's been 4 years since we've last had a John Wick movie, and they really came and delivered just something magnificent. Is this a perfect movie by stance? No. But is it the perfect John Wick movie? Yes. And I can comfortably and happily tell you guys that I think this is the best John Wick movie out of all 4 John Wick movies. And that's crazy to say when you have movies of 4 or even more. You rarely ever hear somebody say that the 4th movie in a franchise is the best. Because a lot of times, the simple route is trilogies. You have chapter 1, 2, 3, done. And then you may have some movies that go up to 10 movies and 11 in Fast and Furious, which they rightfully do need the 11 movies up to that point. With this one being the 4th one, a lot of times in franchises, you start to see that the train is coming off the rails. And then you're seeing sometimes, a lot of times, that the fourth movie in the franchise is probably the worst. Transformers. And with this movie, I was just amazed and wowed by everything they did. You know, this is a beautifully looking movie as well. The cinematography in this movie was chef's kiss, magnificent. This movie was beautiful. All the bright colors all throughout, the fighting, the action scenes, the choreography, it all worked wonderfully. Chad Stahelski, you know, he comes from a stunt work background, and he entered the John Wick franchise as, I believe this was his directorial debut, this franchise. And we've seen him grow even more as a filmmaker just with making these movies. And he's seen just how bigger, bolder, and more risks that he's willing to take with these movies. And I really love that we were able to see his journey as a director and how he just makes these movies as a whole. So I really dug that about these movies for sure. Keanu Reeves in this movie was spectacular. What more can you say about Keanu Reeves as an action movie star? He's one of the best ever, in my personal opinion. I loved him in this movie, and he's really great. That I don't think people talk about enough is his one-liners and certain words he says, like, yeah. Like, I don't do it justice, but just, you know, when he says certain things in these movies, he does them to perfection. And we know he's going to deliver with action as well. And he was just magnificent in this role. Everybody was fantastic in this movie. You know, Lance Reddick, love seeing him. May he rest in peace. So sad that he recently passed away, man. He was great in this movie. The Winston character, he's the best that we've seen the Winston character out of any of the movies, in my personal opinion. Just because the way that he presents himself, the way that he says his lines, and just everything about Winston's character as a whole, I just love this character in this movie because he's awesome. And we're introduced to new villains in this movie as Mr. Pennywise himself, Bill Skarsgård. He plays something like that. I forgot the name of the he's a part of with the High Table in this movie, but he plays his role to perfection as the villain because he's a conniving, he's a dickhead, he's a prick, and what he does with this role in this movie, I kind of got that feeling a little bit of when, you know, when the home invaders, they killed John Wick's dog and stole his car. I got a little bit of that feeling when seeing his character on screen and seeing the actions that he takes. Because there's one thing he does in the beginning of the movie that I will not swear whatsoever for you guys, but the one thing he does, you sit there and you're watching the movie and you're just like, it's time. We're going to kick his ass. We're going to kick his ass in this movie because that guy, he needs to fucking die in this movie. And he played his role great. He did his role as a villain as he was supposed to. I loved him in this movie. And then we were introduced to new characters as well. And I'm pretty sure you've heard from everybody all around that Donnie Yen's character as Kane, the blind assassin, was probably, outside of John Wick himself, was probably the best character in this entire movie, in my personal opinion. He was phenomenal in this role. And he just wasn't just a straight up, oh, I'm gonna punch or kick you guy. No, he wasn't that in this movie. He actually was funny. He actually had some personality into this role. And you understand why he's coming after John Wick in this movie and why he even is in the first place in the history that those two characters have with one another. You understand them. Donnie Yen was fantastic as this character. He was pretty funny. I loved his character, his charisma and the personality they gave him. He was great. Another standout in this movie was a character by the name of, he's technically listed as Mr. Nobody / Tracker in this movie. And the way that he's used in this movie was great. And this isn't a John Wick movie unless you have some good old dog action scenes in this movie. And they flip it with this movie as we see the dog character used in a more protagonist type of way in the first John Wick movies. In this one, we see the dog being used on the other side of the fence. And the way they used him, the dog in this movie was epic in my opinion, as it came off very vicious, very menacing, and I love the use of the dog. Like, this movie was just bananas of how great this was. And Laurence Fishburne, he was great as the Bowery King as well. Laurence Fishburne, it's always great to see him. And another thing that I really loved about this movie with the action scenes is the different types of action set pieces they used and how they filmed them, and the unique set pieces and locations that they did use as well with this movie. All I'm gonna say, the stair sequence was just, whoo, that was an adrenaline rush seeing that stair sequence in this movie. That was just, wow, what they did with this movie and the stair sequence in this movie. Just wow. You'll love when you see it in the theaters for your own time. But man, then there was a unique way of how they shot the action to where it felt like a video game in a way, in a very fun way, because they used some over the head type. They shot a sequence over the head, and you're seeing what's going on over the head like a video game way. And I just thought that was just so damn smart, so damn cool, so damn unique to use within this movie, and it works perfectly. That was just seeing that the way they shot that action scene over everybody's heads was magnificent. That was probably outside of the stair sequence, probably my favorite part of this movie. And I just can't keep raving about this movie enough, just with how great this movie is as a whole. I loved this movie from start to finish. Dude, some of the action scenes do get a little bit exhausting just because of how long they were. Maybe, but it's a good exhausting. It's getting out of your comfort zone type of exhausting. Like, oh man, like yo, I may need a quick little breather. Just how great and long the action sequences were within this movie, and I just really dug this movie from start to finish, man. It was a great fourth chapter in this movie. It's probably my favorite John Wick movie out of the entire franchise. Everybody delivers. It's bigger, bolder, badder in scale. And that is why, and this is probably the first one on this channel, this movie is going to get a 5 out of 5 on the fish scale. That's right. And it rightfully deserves it. And we're only in March, I know, but this is easily my favorite movie of the year so far, in my personal opinion. I absolutely dug this movie from start to finish, man. And I hope you all go out to see this. Go out to see this movie in IMAX or Dolby Cinema. Go get your money's worth. It's a fun blast of a film, and I cannot wait to see and hear all of you guys' opinions and thoughts on this movie as well. But overall, thank you guys so much for being here with me today, listening to me talk about John Wick Chapter 4. Be on the lookout for more future videos being uploaded to the channel along the way. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell to be notified whenever I do have possible uploads coming up. Like the video as well, and comment down below what's your thoughts on John Wick Chapter 4, and what's your favorite movie of the John Wick franchise as a whole. Comment down below. Let me know. Let's talk. Let's discuss, man. And I cannot wait to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions on the John Wick franchise as well. But overall, hope you all have a great rest of your days, and I'll talk to you soon.